Hey, hey. So don't leave yet. It's just me. Um, Artem had some things come up. Uh, his wife had an injury, so he's responsible for all the dogs, and there's a bunch of dogs. And so today, as Artem says, Gary, just freestyle. So that's what I'm going to do today. We have a topic that we were going to do, which was about muzzles, but I would love to have Artem here to do that. So today, um, we're going to have Artem here in spirit. There he is, my friend Artem. Hey, Artem. And yeah, so today, I'm going to be taking my own little spin here on human behavior, emotion, rationalization, and my experiences from the last 12 years and the travels I've done recently. As I'm talking to right now, I just realized I did not put a description in there because I was a little flustered. It kind of happened last minute. But this is what I was going to put there. Human behavior flows from three main sources: desire, emotion, and knowledge. I think that's powerful. Hi, Jackie. So some little tidbits I see. I read a lot of articles in Psychology Today and in different other publications, and I like some of these. So I'm just going to blast through these really quick and then get into the meat and potatoes of the topic. Emotions can be an obstruction to knowledge, as it may influence our perception and reasoning. Emotions is necessary for people to justify the reasoning process, but limits our experience. Jana, I'm going to be talking about you a little today too. Hi, Jana. Emotion can influence our pursuit of knowledge, but when awareness is brought to our emotion, power is brought to our life. And I think that, to me, is a huge, huge thing. Emotions are something we need to be aware of because then it affects our actions. Emotions are subjective experiences that induce you to act. They emerge basically from our perception of the world. Our perception of the world. Doesn't mean it's reality. It's our perception. Instead of from an actual reasoning. Put quite simply, something we perceive as beneficial unleashes emotions of pleasure. The same applies for the opposite. So these are the topics I'm going to be talking briefly about today. And for me, what it comes down to is it helps us judge the risks worth taking and how emotion plays into that. So where did this topic come from today? Well, just recently, I was on the road for 6 weeks with my 3 dogs. We traveled to 26 states, met dozens of people, stayed at wonderful Jana's house. I always love hanging out with Jana and her husband and her mom. Amazing people in Wisconsin. Yeah, it's a lot of time to be with different people from all facets of animal professions. I was with trainers, I was with rescues and shelters and owners and vets and vet techs and all kinds of different, all different types of professions. Some of the other information I'm going to go from today was the soul roll that I did earlier last summer. I did a 500-mile electric skateboard ride. I spent time with a lot of friends again, trainers, but I also went to 9 different shelters, and that's something I'm going to be talking about today. And most of all, from 12 years of listening and listening and listening to people, and trying to put together the pieces of the emotions they're feeling and how they rationalize the behavior that they're doing with their animals. And I guess the unawareness that comes along with that. And the last piece was from, oh, I just want to bite her. I love her so much. A dear friend of mine who I'll leave out of it for right now. She knows who she is. But a couple of weeks ago, we had a day together. We took all the dogs swimming. And we had a really deep conversation about her experiences and what she's doing now and what I'm doing now. And where society's going, where society's going with these, and if it's getting better. And I think one of the most important pieces I'm seeing, something one of my biggest teachers recently has said is, it's more important what we have to be for our dogs than what we do for our dogs. And that's where emotion comes in. We're doing so much that's being a certain way for our dogs that's confusing them and making a lot of our lives more stressful. And if we can become aware of why we're doing these emotional things with our animals, we're going to live a much more peaceful life. And one of the studies I had recently read, and I love this. What's happening right now is a lot of us are falling victim to the aim right now as society is to find increasingly effective ways to convince consumers, that's us, that buying into the world of dog commodities and services guarantees a better relationship with our dog. The bones, the treats, the organic food, the toys, the daycares, the dog walkers, these commodities, some of them are necessities, but some of these commodities, are they really making a better relationship with our dog? So I'll back up a little bit here. And again, I traveled to, I'll start even farther back. A few months ago when I did the 500-mile electric skateboard ride, we'll talk about how I saw a lot of emotion. I visited, I think it was 8 or 9 different shelters. And one of my stops was in a shelter in the central wine coast in California. And he is doing amazing things at his facility. When you walk in, it's quiet. That was one of the things I noticed that was way different about his facility versus everyone else. There wasn't dogs jumping at you at the fences. The people that were volunteering were walking in and out. The dogs were being. The dogs had a purpose. They understood. They were getting life skills that helped them get adopted and stay adopted. And what was fascinating for me is this one shelter that he runs is right next to 2 other shelters or humane societies, places where you could adopt animals. And they were all being run differently. And that kind of made me like, it's fascinating. Because I'm going from shelter to shelter to shelter, but to have 3 right next to each other, literally, some of them were sharing the same fence. So there's a metal fence, Humane Society on this side, his dog's on this side. No space, just a fence. And it made me curious of, do they notice the difference? Do they notice that their shelter is erupting and his is quiet. That the dogs that are walking with the volunteers aren't pulling. That they're passing and having experiences in the world that aren't stressful. They're not seeing a kid and getting all excited or seeing another dog on a leash. They're doing play groups, so multiple dogs are together. And it started to make me think, why? I always like to try to understand why. And, well, one was funded by the state, government, county, I'm guessing. And let's face it, they don't know shit about dogs. City council members, people that are doing the budget, they don't know shit about dogs. So they're doing just what the political pressure puts on them, which is sad, because those people don't know shit about dogs either. The other one was privately funded. So whatever gets their donations, the information. So instead of being a leader in providing resources, again, they're just responding to what gets donations for them, which I agree needs to be done. But those people don't know shit about dogs either. So are you supposed to be coddling to them? Or are you supposed to be an industry leader who is trying to understand the problem and make sure dogs don't end up in your shelter? Because your goal is to get the shelter empty, just so we all know. The goal is to walk in and have no dogs there. That's the goal. So again, a lot of emotion, not actually a rationalized plan of what I'm supposed to be doing every day with these animals. And then you have my friend who also works as a privately funded shelter who is doing that. When people come in, they educate them. That's why this isn't the right dog for you. And no, you're not going to adopt that dog today. Not going to happen. Sorry. And that's responsible. That's a lot of responsibility. And I think it's beautiful because there is no emotion. There doesn't need to be. And yeah, that was like very eye-opening to me, I think. So that's one of the experiences that I had that really showed me how emotion is driving what's going on in our world with dogs, and the lack of awareness and even understanding our responsibility. The travel I did recently, 26 states, a lot of people, a lot of dog owners. Some people knew me. Some people didn't know me. And I always like that. My plan is to go into the shelters and rescues and take pictures. That's part of what Soul Mutt, our responsibility as a nonprofit that is providing marketing services for people, is it's not about dog behavior. That's what the dog side is for. So it's two separate companies. The dog side is to provide behavior, to provide information for the people that are hands-on with the animals. Soul Mutt's responsibility is to educate people how to scale resources they have, how to get more shares, how to get more engagement in their content, how to create content, how to get all of this done. And I like that because when I go in, these shelters and rescues act like how they would normally act. I'm just a photographer coming in to take pictures. And it's eye-opening because I just had it happen recently. I'm staying with a friend, and when I got here, she said to her dogs, "Yep, the cops are here," right? So they're going to act differently knowing Gary from the dog side versus Gary the photographer. So I had some people that were picking my brain about dogs, and some people that just wanted content. Either way, for me, it's just I'm a computer and I'm just sucking up the resources. And the part that, and this kind of goes into my 12 years of experience too, a lot of the people that I'm seeing pick and choose what they want to do. If we do that, I can't help you. Because if you ask me for a solution, I can only give you what I've done. I can't If you want to try things, try them. That's what experiments are for. But if you're picking and choosing based on emotion and not understanding why, then there's nothing I can do. And I run into this a lot. Um, Trying to think of, because I don't judge. I'm not judging people. I'm not, so I'm got to be careful with, I don't want anybody to feel offended because I don't want you to feel offended. We're all doing the best we can at the information, with the information we have at the time. But we'll just say, over the trip, I was with someone and they were getting ready to do something. We'll just say travel. And before this situation occurred, called the dog over, giving the dog lots of affection, then penalizing the dog for doing things that affection confused them. So the question came up, well, how do I stop this other behavior? And my question was, why did you just call the dog on the couch and pet them for 10 minutes? Number one, have I ever told you to do that? No. Number two, why did you do that? Because that's what the dog is living with. Not your best intentions that you're going to be away for a week or two. Dog doesn't know that. It just knows how you feel right now and how they feel right now, and whether it's weak or powerful. That's it. So while I was with the animals, I had none of those same behavior problems that they were experiencing. The barking at sounds, the just generally chirping at nothing. Somebody would walk, burp. Somebody would pull up the driveway, burp. And that's because we're not aware of our emotions. What was really being accomplished in those few minutes that we spent with that dog? And that does affect future behavior. We can rationalize it. This is how we started this, emotions and rationalization. We can justify it, but it doesn't mean it's going to change the dog's behavior because they don't know that. They don't understand your best intentions. Mom's leaving, dad's leaving for 2 weeks. Have a great time. They just know you feel really weak right now. I feel bold because I'm climbing on you and you're giving me affection, which makes me remember and it proves to me where I stand in this pack. So when things happen, I have the right to bark. I have the right to charge the front door. That's all me. And then when you try to come and interject, you're weak. I'm allowed to go into your personal space all the time. So you can't stop me. Then you get frustrated. Then you do something you don't want to do. Then you feel guilty. Then you feel weak again. And the cycle continues. So my biological father struggled with alcohol addiction. And as I was in my mid-20s, I was trying to get a little bit more understanding of how that affects me in my life. And one of the things they were talking about is that addictive cycle of extreme reaction followed by guilt. And I see that a lot. We have the weakness, which then creates the boldness. Then we do something that is emotional, angry, frustrated, fearful. And then later on, we, without saying it, tell the animal we're sorry. But again, we have no idea what they're thinking. And we're sharing weakness. So, yeah, it's always eye-opening. That's to me is why I love to travel, is because I want to actually, I've been doing this 12 years. I've talked to a lot of people in a lot of countries, a lot of people sitting on their couches, friends, cousins, sisters, brothers, everybody, lots of people. So I feel like I have a pretty good understanding, but I had to go out and taste it. I had to go out and feel it again just to remember, yep, we're on the right path here of trying to make humans more accountable, because they're a byproduct of the reality we create. And if we aren't in control and aware and understand the reality we're creating, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I see some questions here, but I'll come back to them. So yeah, I mean, that last piece was just the years of experience again, where people pick and choose what emotionally feels good to them. And that's this one quote that I had, started with again. People justify the reasoning process, but it limits our experience. So it's easy to justify, well, I'm this, I'm that. But why? What was that interaction that actually happened? A friend we're staying with right now has a friend who's a therapist who actually, ironically, is who's been educated by another therapist that I study a lot, Dr. Gabor Mate. And she said she sees everybody as their childhood trauma. So when she meets somebody, she says, oh, you're 7. Oh, you're 13. Oh, you're a 21-year-old. Oh, you're a 4-year-old. And that's, whether you believe it, don't believe it, I don't know. I'm not a therapist, but I feel like a lot of the emotions that we have unconsciously are being driven by things that we haven't quite dealt with. And that's why I think it's tough, especially for me, hanging out in this other world of trying to say, don't dog train because it doesn't mean anything to dogs. It's hard for people because they're not aware of why that triggers feelings in them. And then it becomes that endless cycle of you ask them a question, they get defensive, don't ask the question, try to prove you wrong versus actually answering the question. When really, if they just understood why that's triggering to them, we'd be able to have a dialogue and actually move the progression of society to making dogs that don't get killed in shelters every day. But because we're so unaware of our own pain, and we do all of these things to make the pain go away by judging people, hugging all of those things, it just stops. It impedes the process of what we all say we really want, which is for dogs to be in a better place. But our actions are what's going to do that, not that. Because that's the beauty of humans. We can make up these stories and talk. And finally, the conversation I had with my friend. So she was talking about, we both have a strong feeling, because we've learned it from Brandon, how difficult it can be with aggression especially, how hard it can be to get a read on an animal when you're just going to do an in-home. And what we've found before doing it the way we do it now is most dogs need socialization. They don't need dog training. And if you really dig in, a lot of dogs have problems because of dog training, because you're asking them to do something that they're not emotionally connected to. So that causes them to have behavior problems. My example that Brandon always says that I love, or the example I give that Brandon says, is if you woke up first thing in the morning and then I told you to lay back down, how would you feel? No, go lay down. But I'm not tired. No, go lay down. You'd get frustrated. You might even start to erupt physically, verbally, because you're not connected to what lay down means at that moment. Lay down means rest. So a lot of times, if you stay open-minded, again, this is that part we're talking about, if you really care about the animals, it's not about us. The dogs need socialization. They don't need dog training. And what we were both talking about is, having a facility, providing the safe environment where dogs can interact is exhausting. Every single day bringing dogs in who need 100% attention because something very damaging could happen to either them or another dog, or to me, it's a lot. And the sad part is we have resources in society to be able to help that. So that doesn't just have to be me. It doesn't just have to be her. It doesn't just have to be Artem, right? It doesn't have to be my friend Kimberly, who are taking dogs in and socializing them. It doesn't have to just be us. We could all work together to help those dogs. The problem is, everybody's doing it different. And that's what confuses me. We're all dealing with the same creature. It's an animal. Do we raise giraffes differently? Do we raise whales differently? But for some reason, we think we know best when it comes to animals. To dogs. But my hunch is we know best of what we need, not what they need. So when I was in Utah, one of my many stops, there was a freaking dog utopia there. Oh my God. I mean, a dog park as big as a football field. Then the size of half a football field was a fenced-in lagoon lake area that was also a dog park separate. So we had the swim part, we had the dog park, which just was a grass field. And what I mean by us all working together, imagine if you're driving down the road and everybody's doing something different. Oh no, my car's a Porsche, so I can drive faster. That doesn't make me feel safe. Yeah, but the suspension's really good. My brakes are ceramic. They're $15,000 a piece. I got $16,000 tires. I have 0 to 60, in 0.2 seconds, so I can, juke around traffic. Doesn't make me feel any safer. Oh, well, a yellow light, when it's almost pink, I can just go through it. Doesn't make me feel any safer. What makes people feel safe, somewhat, when we're driving, is that we can usually predict what everyone's going to do. Because we understand as a society, it makes us feel safe. Red light, stop. That means it's your turn to go. But yet, when we get involved with dogs, we all think we know best. So here I am, just finishing up a 16-hour drive. My amazing friend Alicia, who lives in Utah, tells me, go to this place. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I'm going there. I'm like looking it up on my maps and like the blow up thing. I'm like, this is going to be amazing. And I get there. And I think I definitely did a live video. Maybe I can piece together the archives. I really wish Instagram would let me save the live videos, but I always forget to hit save because I'm always like fired up when I do it, and I forget to hit save to my phone. My phone's maxed out on storage pretty much anyway. But I'll see if I can dig up the archives. I'm not exaggerating at all. Every single dog there had something in their mouth. Every single one. Not one single dog. So for me, the purpose of a dog park, and maybe I'm an idiot, and that's okay. The purpose of a dog park is socialization. It's to have dogs go be with other dogs and do dog shit because they live with humans. If we take our dogs to a dog park, to a dog beach, and alls we do is do, then it loses the purpose of the dog park. Let's not make this about whether we should or shouldn't throw toys. Let's make this about what the purpose of a dog park is and how to keep it safe. So I go, I look, and I'm like, I ain't going in there. because it felt unsafe to me. I had no idea what everybody was going to do. And that sucks, because it goes back to the conversation that my friend had with me the other day. Those would be an absolute amazing resource for dogs to socialize, to give dogs the experience that are having behavior problems a chance to rewind back to what they actually need. And man, it really sucked, because I was really looking forward to going there and having my dogs be with other dogs, instead of saying, oh God, I'm staying away from that dog. Oh my God, I'm staying away from that dog. I don't know what that feels like. That's weird, which is what they should do, because what those dogs are feeling isn't healthy. And my friend Jana, who's, I don't know if she's still on here, but she says, and I love this analogy, it's like taking a kid to a birthday party and giving him an iPad. That's not the point of a birthday party. The point of the birthday party is to be socializing with other kids. And that's what you're doing. And that's what people are doing when they take their dogs to the dog park. It's supposed to be socialization. But people are bringing their iPads. So their dogs aren't doing the whole purpose of the dog park. And then that makes it unsafe for other people and unfair to other people who are actually going there to have that purpose. So it would be way better if those people just went to a football field, threw the ball for their dog, because that's all they want to do, and not interfere with everybody else that has a different purpose there. Because then what happened was, you actually saw the people that were there for socialization in another spot that wasn't fenced in. And that's where we went. We walked down and I was like, oh, there's dogs over there. Those people are like us. They're just chilling. So I went, unclipped the leashes. They had their own experience. But we had to go seek out another place, which was not the intended purpose of what's the dog park. And yeah, it was just a super bummer. And what Teresa and I were talking, sorry, Teresa. What we were talking about that day was, we feel kind of powerless because we can only help one dog at a time. When these facilities, these creations, the whole purpose was for socialization, could be helping much more at a bigger scale. And it's a bummer. It's really a bummer. And I look at, when we go in there, again, it comes back to emotion. Well, my dog, well, your dog, and all of these things are rationalized. But nothing is actually based on knowledge. Why should my dog understand that when you're throwing the ball for your dog, my dog shouldn't run after that? Because you said so? How about just go outside the fence and throw the ball, and then we don't have to worry about it? Oh, your dog runs away. Maybe don't throw the ball for your dog, and they won't run away from you. So if you want to go back and watch those episodes that Artem and I did about toys and games, and we can see that what causes these behaviors. Hi, Teresa. I love your face. So again, it comes back to me, the emotions and the lack of knowledge, and I guess the unwillingness to even ask the questions. So again, I'm just kind of freestyling, so I'm just going to look at my notes real quick. Yeah. So anytime, again, while I was traveling and been traveling, anytime I've been doing everything you said, but I still have this problem, I can always observe emotions in play. Always. Always, always, always some type of emotion in play. I had somebody recently, they were, talking about the dogs following them and barking. And I brought it up to the person, and they didn't even realize they were doing it. They were walking from room to room, and they would say, "Come on." Yet when they went outside to get a package from the FedEx person, the dogs were barking at the window. They literally did not even realize that was coming out of their mouth. The encouragement. Why do you need your dog to follow you everywhere? Interesting. Let's see what else. I think I pretty much covered everything. I think we would be, if we could just understand our own emotions and really work on. That's why I love this quote. I don't remember where I saw it, but it was something like, people think dog training is a bunch of secret tips and tricks. But for me, it's really a way to take a journey within myself. And if we could start looking at, I hate that dog ownership, sharing, I hate saying this, but sharing time with our dogs or sharing space with our dogs. If we could just be a little bit more aware and less emotional about it, I think a lot of us would see the changes. It's not about doing, it's just becoming more aware. Let's see, anything else? Oh, yeah, real quick, I'll just jump back. When I saw those 3 shelters, what was very interesting to me is, if I walked in, I was only invited to go to one, and that's really all I had time for. But what I would really love is to have a dialogue with those 3 shelters and try to understand why they're doing things differently. And again, this is not my opinion. It's based on my experiences that I've shared with other shelters and sanctuaries and government institutions and private rescues, not these 3 in particular, but something that I've experienced a lot. They don't know why they're doing it. No idea. There is no data collection. There is no one that's saying, oh yeah, the reason why we're doing X is because it's affected in Y. The reason why we spend so much time working with leashes and doing dog socials is because it's increased our adoption rates and decreased our return rates. It's based on money, where the funding's coming from, the volunteers. I actually had a rescue that I visited, and they wanted some help with a dog. So I helped. The old Gary would have shown them how to solve the problem. The new Gary tried to bring awareness of why they have this problem in the first place, which is a more powerful, teach them how to fish and they can fish forever. So it wasn't about stopping the behavior. It was about educating them of how they're not realizing how the behavior is created, why the dog became homeless in the first place, which is the most important thing, and why the dog was while the dog's in their care, how they're exacerbating that problem, how they're intensifying it. A dog was barking at another dog through a fence, and it couldn't get there, obviously. On a leash, other dog was behind a fence. The dog that was on a leash spun around and started to dig into a squirrel hole, a ground squirrel hole. And I said to the person, that's your problem. And they were like, what do you mean? Because they couldn't get to that thing, they decided to put pressure on a smaller object. This dog plays with toys, correct? Correct. There's your problem. The toys that this dog is playing with, in his mind, is teaching him to put pressure on smaller animals. That's okay, and it's something you enjoy. I didn't even have to give a hypothetical. It happened in front of us. There is no more truth. I wish I had it on video, but my video camera was like 100 yards away because we were doing something, and then we kept walking, and then it got farther and farther away. But I could not, it had nothing to do with my opinion. It was right in front of me. And taking the time to put those pieces together from years of experience, saying, well, why would a dog decide to then chase a squirrel? It's because they can't get to that thing. Why can't they get to that thing? Because of a leash. So maybe that's why, putting the pieces together, being able to understand that. So then we look at, well, if we stop doing something like that, is it changing anything? So even take 3 or 4 of those dogs and stop doing that. And do you know what their response was? The volunteers that come here every day will be sad. They'll be sad because they won't get to throw things for the dogs. They'll be sad because they can't play tug of war with the dogs. They'll be sad. Emotions, not knowledge. If I ran a shelter, I don't give a shit if my volunteers are sad. If I want to make a change and the facts are backing it up, then that's on you. You control yourself. What's the main purpose of being here? Is to save dogs' lives, not so that you aren't sad. They're going to be sad. My mouth dropped when I heard that. I couldn't believe it. And what was mostly sad, even more sad to me, is how much harder those people are working when they don't have to, because they don't want humans to be sad. More early mornings and more late nights. More stress keeping dogs separated. More resources, because now that the dogs can't socialize with each other, they have to buy toys. So they're wasting money on toys instead of medical care. Instead of buying a new van so they can take the dogs to town to walk them. Because humans would be sad. So let me just poke through these questions real quick. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much. I appreciate everybody's patience. I know it's sad that Artem's not here. He's with us in spirit in the top left corner. I love my friend Artem so much. I hope he's managing. I'm sure it's, can imagine. He's got a lot of hats he's wearing today. Expert husband, vet, dog daycare owner, business owner. So we'll send a thumbs up, put a heart out to Artem. We love you, Artem. We support you. We'll see you in 2 weeks. My mother-in-law follows him every day, so she probably messages with him. So she's at least saying hi to Artem. Hi, Jana. Oh, shucks. I love being with Jana. I love being with Jana and her family. What's always so interesting when you travel is it kind of goes back to me where I'd rather not do something because I don't know where it's going to lead. So I lived in New Jersey, which meant mostly the dogs walked and they were in backyards, to then moving to Napa, California, where my dogs were never on leashes and ran around in the farm. Then moving to Los Angeles, which meant always on leash, walking around a neighborhood with dogs that want to kill you behind fences because people use them for protection and to keep bad people out of their home, to now being on the road, not really having a home, living in my van, traveling, spending time with friends. So it's so important to me that my dogs have a really clear education of, number one, most important thing, what I like and what I don't like. And most people that Artem and I deal with, their dogs really understand what they like. And it usually then is something that they don't like later. I like when you go chase the ball. I like when you run away from me. I like when you put on your mouth on things. Why are you chasing that jogger? I can't believe you just scared the shit out of me by lunging at them. That's why for me, I'm always looking at the bigger picture. I might need my dogs. My dogs were in so many, my friend Kimberly, I never thought about it this way. She had this really great, when we were sitting down talking one of the mornings, she had this really great perspective of my journey. She said, your dogs are in a new place all the time. It's always new rules. It's a new house. They're meeting new dogs, meeting new humans, new expectations. And I thought to myself, shit, yeah. Some houses, they're not allowed on the couch. Sometimes they're allowed on the couch. Sometimes the people would pet them. Sometimes the people didn't pet them. Kimberly had 2 cats. Kimberly had a boarding facility, or does boarding and daycare. So there was new dogs every day. We had to walk because it was at 7 a.m. because it was 92,000 degrees in Atlanta, then walking in the evening. Then we had to have people. There was so much going on. And I'm so thankful that I listen to Brandon when he says that all the time. It's more important that your dogs know what you don't like. If your dogs know what you don't like, they can live amazing lives. Because when you take them places, and if they do something that you don't like, you have a way to communicate to them. So I don't spend my time teaching my dogs what I don't like, or what I do like. Because there's 5 dogs here and they're all doing something. That means I like it because I'm not saying anything. And that's beautiful for them because they get to make their own choices. So when I was with Jana, she has 6 horses. She has 10 dogs, a rabbit, sheep, again, boarding facility, people in and out, people walking past the van, people coming towards the van. And it's always eye-opening. It's a great reminder. And a temperature taker, I would say, I don't know, thermometer of where my dogs are. When they were in their giant socialization field and they weren't expecting 6 horses to come around, I get to see where their mind is. Are they predators? Rah, 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 rah. Or are they social creatures saying, oh shit, what's that? I'm not sure. Stay away from things I'm apprehensive of. And then as I feel more comfortable, I can get curious. And walk over versus a predator. Eyes, have a feeling, go forward. Very important. So thank you always, Jana. Whenever I'm driving around the country, I always make time to stop at Jana's house. I haven't been doing it enough, and I will be doing it more because I love them and just being there, and it's just such a great feeling to be on a farm and watching my dogs be dogs, making choices. And it's kind of a good, again, thermometer for what I've been doing with them and seeing, what have I been putting in their minds? And then I get to see how good of a job I'm doing or not doing. It wasn't all perfect, but when we had a problem, we could stop it. Okay, Jackie, difference between mine and my neighbors. My dog's calm and quiet, and they're unwalked dogs on the other side kicking off behind the fence, barking and fighting between themselves out of frustration and compounded energy. Yeah. And again, it just comes down to what we've talked in a lot of these previous episodes is boundaries, whether it's mental or physical. When I travel, I put my dogs in the place that they're supposed to be with the door open, not the door closed. Because when the door is closed, they don't have a choice. They have to stay in there. And when you take choices away from animals, you will see stress. They have to be part of the process. So as Jana's mom says, you make the easy choice, the hard choice, Make the wrong choice hard and the right choice easy. And that's about setting up the environment. Artem says, hi, everybody. The next episode about muzzles. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Hi, Shoba. Hope you're doing wonderful. Sent me some amazing videos. Shoba volunteers at a sanctuary in Mallorca, Spain. And man, they have a ton of dogs. And they're living the life. They're free. They're socializing. They're walking. And it's beautiful to watch. There's not this frustration of separation. There's an inclusivity that happens. So I appreciate you sharing me those videos. Oh, thanks, Michelle. I appreciate it. I try to really be thoughtful with my examples. I do a lot of. I'm always a student, so I really appreciate reading and learning and seeing different pieces of information. Hi, Teresa. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. Just talking about avoiding local parks. It's sad. It's really sad because it just makes our dogs' lives smaller. But when we can't, but it's safer to do what you need to do when it's unpredictable. And, I can't predict everything that's going to happen. We go hike up and down these roads and the things where we're in Santa Barbara right now. But when I go to a dog park and I can see a bunch of neurotic predators, I stay away. No matter, even knowing how good of a resource that could potentially be. It's a bummer. Okay. Oh, Becca, wait till you come to Oregon. I'll take you on Thousand Acre Dog Park. I can't wait. Maybe if you call me back, we could plan it. No, I can't wait to see you. I'm going to be, I told everybody, I'm in Santa Barbara for these 2 weeks. So if anybody's here wants to get together, message me. I'll be back in LA for the month of July. And then I'm going to be in Oregon and Washington for the month of August. So if you're around, hit me up. Then I'm going to Colorado and Wyoming. So I'll be around. There's a good chance that we could probably meet up somewhere. But I'd love to meet up with some people. I'll definitely be in Oregon for the first week and a half, possibly at Becca's. Or I'll definitely be in Washington. My wife and I are talking about getting a place there. So we'll be scouting all around. I don't know what BooHoo means. Who are they there for then? Them. Yep. Yeah, a lot of people are in the rescue world for themselves and not the dogs. And that's okay. It is what it is. Because they're doing the best they can with the information they have at the time. They're not aware of it. But once you become aware of it, what do they say? A mistake is when you make it more than once. Until then, you're just learning. So there's a lot of people that you go in and you tell them something. They're like, yep, that won't happen again. And then there's people you tell them and they keep making the same choice. Playing fetch. Yeah. Yeah, that's a popular one. Jenna's talking about how her clients, validate the things that they do by saying my dog loves it. And yeah, a lot of people love smoking. Doesn't make it good for you. A lot of people like eating bad things. Doesn't make it good for you. So if we're just doing it because they love it, then you're going to get what you get. And some people it's okay. Some dogs are perfect. I have one of those dogs that'll never be a problem. But then if you go to any shelter, and if you understand what's involved with being a predator and what the behavior is in a shelter, those two things are directly correlated. Excitement, jumping, mouthing, barking is all predatory behavior. Then if it's so great, all of these games, why are the dogs homeless? If every single dog could go home with a tennis ball, which is super easy. I mean, what's a tennis ball? 10 cents? You could even get used ones for free. Go to any tennis court and just look in the trash can. They're there. free, then why do we have dogs that are homeless? And it's not because they don't know how to out. No. No. Yeah. All right. I'm going to log off. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We're thinking about you, Artem, as always. If you need anything, you can follow. Hit the wrong button. Say bye to Artem. Bye, Artem. If you need anything from me or Artem, you can follow us on Instagram here. You can sign up for my newsletter at thedogside.com up there. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day. And we will see you in 2 weeks where we will be discussing muzzles. Muzzles. And the emotion that they cue in people. Have a wonderful day. Bye, Jana.